Hello, Helen here. Welcome to the first card in my Christmas 2020 series. This card's going to be a fairly easy card to do. It's purely just stamping, a little bit of ink blending and some masking when you're doing the stamping, and the result is quite a simple card. So I'm going to start off by using this card panel that I've ended up doing some quilling with foil for the sentiment at the top, and I've already done that, and I'll link you to a video up in the right hand corner, a card that shows you how I did another sentiment doing the same method, so I won't show you that again. And then I'm going to be using this Altenew Plentiful Pine stamp set, which is a layering stamp set of a tree, and I'm going to start off by doing the one of the trees towards the bottom so that it looks like it's in front of my scene, and I'll start by doing all the different layers for that. So I started off by stamping my first layer out of the Green Valley set, which is called Firefly, and while I've got that ink out, I'm going to do tree mask using this Inkadinkadoo masking paper. So I'll just do the main biggest of the stamps and stamp that, and then cut that out, and my mask will be ready for when I finish doing all the layers. And then I'll go ahead and do the other layers of the set, which is Greenfield, Shadow Creek and Mountain Pine. And then once I've done that, I'll go and use the smaller tree set out of the same stamp set and stamp some further up on the card, which will then look like they're back further. Isn't that an incredible stamp? It's got so much detail. I love the Altenew layered stamps. They just come alive as you stamp each layer. Just amazing. I never get tired of it. Along with my two tree masks, I've also cut out some slopes or some sort of snowy banks just by cutting a curved design in some scraps of the masking paper, and I'm going to use that to make my snowbanks or hills or whatever you'd like to call them so for the scene. So I'm just going to put one down where I want my second of the smaller trees to go, just so it looks like it's in behind the bank when I come to do the ink blending a bit later on. So I'll put that down and then put my tree mask down, and then I can stamp the second tree so that it looks like it's behind and back slightly. So I'll go ahead and do that. Now you'll see here I get that white halo around where my mask is. I try restamping it again and pushing down into that area, but it still doesn't fix that problem. So what I need to do is just move my mask of the bigger tree over slightly, just to allow for that area, because you've got the height of the masking tape, so that fixes that problem and I can stamp right up to it. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of ink blending, and I want it to be really subtle. I don't want it to stand out too much. So I start off using the rock collection set, and I start off with the limestone, but it's just too pale and not really showing up, so I move on to the silver stone one, but I've got to be really careful because it's that little bit much darker. So I'm just going to do a little bit of blending up from the masking paper just over the line a little bit, and just working my way along the cut slope that I've made with the masking paper. And then I'll use another piece with a slightly different shape that I've cut out with scissors to do a one where the bottom of the tree that's in the background still, but the more forward one, and then I'll do one in between and one at the base of my main tree. So I'll just do that, working my way down the page, just being very careful with the blending. Last thing I'm going to do for the card is to decorate the front tree into a Christmas tree. So I've got some flat back pearls here in a multiple pack of colours from my stash. I've had these for years, so if you don't have something like this, you could use something like Nouveau drops or tiny little enamel dots or anything like that. So I'm just going to pick out some red and some gold to represent baubles on the tree, and I've also punched out a star out of some gold shiny paper, and I'm going to put that on the top, and that'll be my decorated Christmas tree. For all you card makers that are just starting out, you wouldn't necessarily have to use this particular stamp if you didn't want to go and buy this. There is a multitude of tree stamps out there, so you could use one of those clusters and mask off part of the trees to do the background. You could use just a single colour tree. Just look at what you've got and what's available to you, and you can adapt it to suit what you can get. It certainly doesn't have to be this layered stamp. So that's the first card in the Christmas 2020 series. I've tried to keep it as simple as possible with as minimal products as possible. You can certainly do your sentiment in a completely different way. Use a stamp or a die, and use whatever stamps and decorations that you have in your stash. So please subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when my next Christmas card's out. And I'll see you next time for that. Bye for now.